Lots of disrespect for Lamar Jackson going on. Plenty to talk about. I'm sure Ravens fans are tired of it, but we got to go ahead and stand up for our guy Lamar. A lot to get to next here on the Locked On Ravens Squad Show.
Rise and shine. It's the Ravens Squad. Everything Baltimore Ravens every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the heart of Charm City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Flock together and squad up. The Ravens Squad Show starts now.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Locked On Ravens Squad Show. Sam Njoku and Kevin Oestreicher here with you. Kadri Ismail will be here a little bit later on. Lamar Jackson's been getting a lot of flack recently from pundits around the sports world. We're going to have a lot to talk about in regards to that. I'm sure you've seen Kevin's Locked On Ravens podcast episodes. We're going to dive in deeper to what is actually going on with the Lamar Jackson discourse. Plenty to get to on that. We'll talk about the Ravens, a lot of offseason moves. We're nearing the conclusion of that. Training camp 2 weeks away. So we'll talk about which offseason move will matter the most when it's all said and done at the end of the season. And then we'll also talk about training camp sleepers. Which training camp sleeper, someone we're not really talking about towards the beginning of the training camp, could have a big impact, maybe make a little bit of noise before the start of the regular season. But first, we'll get into the Lamar Jackson disrespect, whether it's the ESPN's top 10 list, whether it's the top 100 list, whether it's Colin Cowherd's removing Lamar Jackson entirely from his top 10 QB list. Lamar Jackson talk has got a little heated here as we close in on the start of training camp. Kevin, I know you've talked about it with Ravens fans. You talked about it on your show, but give me your overall sense of what do you think is actually going on with this Lamar Jackson discourse as we head closer and closer to the start of the regular season?
Well, I think long story short, the consensus I think I've come to, and is something I've been saying a ton over the last couple of days, is that I think last season has given people in what they feel like is a reason or an excuse or whatever you want to say to come out of the woodwork. I compared it to the Homer Simpson meme where he's like going into the bush. Like this is the haters are coming out of the bush and saying, hey, now we can start talking crazy again, because Lamar had a down season by his standard. And what people are also doing is they are eliminating context from that, and they're just putting it all on Lamar Jackson. They're saying, well, Lamar Jackson didn't run a lot last year, or he took a lot of sacks last year. No, that's Lamar's fault, when in reality, the offensive line was terrible and he was injured and just didn't have the burst. We heard him talk about that probably about a month or so ago, maybe a couple months ago at this point now, about, feeling injured in the Detroit game. And then that obviously compounding into him leaving early against the Chiefs. And that kind of started his unhealthy year, unfortunately, since then. But yeah, I just think it's given people an excuse. And, we've kind of seen it all kind of happen rapid fire with the top 10 and the top 100 and then Colin Cowherd. It's all just kind of compounding on itself and just stacking up. And, it's almost like I'm disappointed, but not surprised. But I am surprised about certain things, right? I think Cowherd in particular over the last couple of months has surprised me. It was a very sharp 180 after, I guess, an original sharp 180, because he was calling Lamar Tim Tebow and then apologized for it. And we're like, all right, cool. You know what, Colin, that's cool of you to do. Come on the bandwagon. You can rock with us. And then he just this is not new now. Colin Cowherd has had, I think, 3 or 4 instances, with this being the latest, of bashing Lamar Jackson. And this one being probably the most disrespectful one yet, especially with the rant he went on, bringing up old narratives that were never true about him throwing the ball, leaving out context, like I mentioned. And, Q and I talked about it this morning, because we talked about, the Cowherd comments. And I said, like, there's no actual way he believes this. I cannot, there's no possible way. Like, there's no possible way that he believes Lamar Jackson is not a top 10 quarterback. I refuse to believe that it's not for anything more than clicks or whatever you want to call it. But that's what Lamar Jackson is, right? He's a polarizing player. He's somebody that, demands so much attention, obviously on the field, but I mean, off of it, there's so much attention put on him on a honestly daily basis. And with that, there are people that don't like his play style. There are people that don't like the way he plays the game. There are people that want to pick on him instead of other quarterbacks. And I feel like over the last couple of days, we've kind of gotten the worst of all worlds with it.
Yeah, I want to dissect these lists one by one. You started talking about Colin Cowherd, so I'll start with him, because that list was probably the most egregious of the three, completely removing Lamar Jackson, if you guys don't know, from his top 10 list of QBs. And that's just one man's opinion, obviously, but it goes to kind of show you the type of mentality that these pundits sometimes have with guys like Lamar Jackson, who continues to do everything but get the job done in the postseason, and they're using that postseason snafu against him when guys like Peyton Manning didn't get his first ring until it was well over 30. You talk about that guy. Would you ever see Peyton Manning off of a top 10 list? I mean, you wouldn't see him off of a top 5 list, let alone top 10 list entirely. You got guys like Caleb Williams who lost in the postseason. You got guys like Joe Burrow who hasn't been back to the postseason since going to the Super Bowl in 2021. It just seems as though the criteria, and you talked about this, Kevin, ad nauseum, throughout Lamar Jackson's tenure as a Raven, everyone has a different criteria except for Lamar. Lamar seems to be his own bubble of whatever the pundits ask for him. He has to win a championship. Well, not the same for these other guys. Josh Allen hasn't won a championship. He has to throw a certain amount of yards. Well, these other guys haven't thrown for those yards either. It just seems as though it's compounding and it's getting kind of ridiculous. And it's all coming to a head now before the start of this 2026 season. You kind of touched on it a little bit with the Colin Cowherd stuff, but I mean, what type of bulletin board material do you think that Lamar Jackson is having here with all of this stuff coming out, especially with Colin Cowherd taking him out of the top 10 list entirely?
Yeah, well, I certainly think it is bulletin board material. I would assume he'll probably be asked about it in some way, shape, or form at training camp. And, his answer will be telling in terms of how much he cares about it or not. I mean, I really, Lamar, as Zay Flowers has said, and other people, and we know about Lamar, he does bounce to the beat of his own drum. Like, he does his own thing. I don't think he's like overly concerned about it. We've seen Lamar clap back at, whether it's Nick Wright or other media people or haters or whatever. It's from time to time. It's kind of rare, but it happens from time to time. And so I don't know, like, I think that it is definitely bulletin board material, but I mean, at this point, it's nothing Lamar's not used to. I mean, he's used to disrespectful conversations. He's used to people, discrediting him. He's used to people magnifying, stuff that shouldn't even be magnified and, dismissing his successes. I mean, I could go on and on and on about that. So, I mean, I'm sure that he's probably gotten used to it, for lack of a better word, at this point, but doesn't take away the fact that, like, it is extremely disrespectful. And I think he is going to show a lot of people, including Colin Cowherd, that, the analogy I've loved using over the last couple of days is the Monstars have not just come down and sapped all the powers out of Lamar Jackson, right? But I think that's how people are approaching this, is like, he was not Lamar Jackson last season, so that means he's not going to be Lamar Jackson ever again. That's just not how it works. He's 29 years old, going to be 30 at the end of this season. Still a long way to go for him. And while, again, this offense is going to be different, maybe some of the things he does with the offense is going to be different as well, he's still Lamar Jackson. He's still Lamar Jackson. And so Colin Cowherd officially, I anointed it on the 6 p.m. show yesterday. I said, if he tries to get back on that bandwagon, he's not going to be allowed back on anymore. Mike Florio defended Lamar from the top 100 list, and I said, shout out to you, Mike Florio, but you're still not allowed back on. You're not allowed on here. You can say what you say, and that's cool, but you're not allowed back on here. Colin Cowherd, if he tries to switch up, he's done enough damage here. And again, taking quarterbacks over him that are not proven, that have less playoff success than Lamar Jackson, have no accolades at all, are still very unproven. I mean, it's anything to discredit this guy. And again, disappointed, but not surprised.
Yeah, I'm definitely disappointed. And I am not surprised. And we'll probably talk about that a little later on in the show, why I'm not too surprised by it. We kind of touched on it, but good to talk about it once more. But yeah, it is disappointing. And Primetime kind of echo your sentiments on the chat. Cowherd better not hop back on the bandwagon when Lamar wins his 3rd MVP this year. And that seems to be the trend for Lamar Jackson. A new OC comes in, he goes out and wins an MVP. But it is crazy considering Lamar Jackson missed 4 games this past season. That's way less than what Joe Burrow missed. He had 21 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. That 3 touchdown to interception ratio is pretty good. He was 3rd in yards per attempt last season, despite the injuries, despite the play of the offensive line. He was 4th in terms of passer rating, the 4th overall best passer rating in the league last year, despite all of those things. And to have him completely off the list despite that is utterly ridiculous. I am very confused by that. Before we take a break, let's talk about the top 100 list, because this was not done by just one man in a microphone. This is done by a litany of guys, the litany of peers in the NFL. These are players that vote the top 100 list. And just so you guys know, the players do rate from 1 to 20 each player, and based on that, they kind of average it out and base the list off of that. At least that's what we're told. So a little bit of a sneak peek into what goes into that top 100 list. But Lamar Jackson appears at 69 on that list, well below where he was last year. I mean, the year prior, he was 2, after that 41 touchdown season, and he drops all the way down to 69, which is utterly ridiculous, even despite the shortcomings of this offense and Lamar Jackson as a whole. What are your thoughts, separate from Colin Cowherd, with the top 100 list? These are players who play the game, play with each other. They have a chance to see these guys up close and personal. They rate him 69 out of 100 this year.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I was. I mean, this actually is not the lowest Lamar has been on this list after a bad season. He was 72 after the 2022 season when he was banged up, and then went on to win the MVP and was right back at number 1. So, I mean, I'm expecting something similar this year, but I mean, it is definitely surprising. Like, again, Lamar's year was not great in 2025. Like, I understand that. For Lamar standards, it was not. But again, some of the guys that are ranked ahead of him or will be ranked ahead of him. I mean, the next guy on the list was Courtland Sutton. You cannot tell me Courtland Sutton is better than Lamar Jackson, and that's going to be a theme for a lot of the players on the list that come after Lamar. And, it's a difficult conversation, because I think when, you and I don't go out there and tackle Lamar, or have to tackle Lamar. I thought that he was more well-respected around the league, and usually he is. Like, again, a lot of people have a lot of glowing things to say about him. I don't think Lamar is hated around the league by his peers. I don't think, the opinion has shifted that much. I think people put far too much into what was happening last season, and that's kind of where this comes from. I mean, you cannot tell me there are 68 better players than Lamar Jackson. You cannot. I would understand it if he were in like 30s would be like the max for me, like 20s, 30s. Like, if you factor in last season, right? I mean, when he's healthy, he's top 5 minimum. Like, that's just where he is. I think people just want to, if you want to put that year in there from last year and factor into the people's years, then okay, maybe you're sitting at like 20 or 25 or something, because, it wasn't great, was banged up. I mean, it wasn't like he threw 10 touchdowns and 25 interceptions last year either. He also only missed 4 games. So the availability factor, where Joe Burrow is going to be ranked on this list, assuming he's on this list. I mean, Joe missed 5 more games than Lamar did this past season. We can go on and on and on about that. But yeah, I mean, the coaches and executives thing, which I know we'll get to, and, the cowherd thing, those are guys that, currently are not on the field trying to stop Lamar Jackson. And some of them, I'll never have the skill set to go out there and stop Lamar Jackson, right? But
for yourself, buddy.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe. All right, we're going to put you out there and see how it goes. But I think that, again, the player aspect of it, yeah, I just think that they were too caught up in this season, which feels like the theme.
Yeah, it seems like the theme. And this one, I was initially just shocked, as you said, but after thinking about it, I get it. It's very difficult to, vote on these guys when Lamar Jackson had the type of season he's had. And just to let you guys know, typically these are voted between Thanksgiving and New Year's Eve. Sometimes it sneaks into the playoffs when these votes get put in, but typically speaking, it's the latter portion of the 2000 and whatever year. I guess this year was 2025 season. Typically the latter portion of the year when these votes are tallied. So depending on when these votes are put in, Lamar Jackson could have been struggling, not on the field at all, or just trying to sneak in to the postseason. So just to give the players some credence there with their voting process. But again, you mentioned it. If Joe Burrow is on this list ahead of Lamar Jackson, who by all intents and purposes missed 9 to 10 games last season and did not have any way to showcase his talents. The Bengals didn't even sniff the postseason. They weren't playing the final game of the year to determine who goes on to the postseason. If Joe Burrow is ranked higher, then this conversation takes a whole other turn. I'm reserving judgment until the list comes out of Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow shouldn't be on the list based on everything we've seen with the Lamar Jackson criticism. If he's on the list, that makes this entirely 1,000% more disrespectful. But if he's not on the list, then maybe give the player some credit, especially considering the level of play Lamar had at the time of the voting taking place. I don't know. But still, 69 seems to be a little crazy to me. I was expecting somewhere between 20 and 30, 15 and 30, just based on how successful he was this year, despite the injury. Despite the offensive line, I thought they'd give him a little bit more credit, but 69 seems a little low. And I think that upcoming, he's going to prove a lot of doubters wrong. He is well on his way to a third MVP based on the trend of the great Lamar Jackson. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about Lamar Jackson. We'll get Q in here to talk a little bit more about Lamar Jackson, get his thoughts on Colin Cowherd and the top 100 list before pivoting to the offseason that was and the training camp that will follow. A lot to get to here next on the Locked On Ravens Squad Show. Today's episode is sponsored by Square. If you've ever tapped to pay and thought, whoa, that was fast, it was probably Square. Whether you're selling lattes, cutting hair, running a packed game day spot, or managing a design studio, Square helps you run your business without running yourself into the ground. Square is the platform behind the scenes of so many businesses you already love. One connected system to take payments, managing inventory, run payroll, and track it all in one place. And businesses using Square Online earn 36% more revenue on average. There's nothing worse than missing the big play because you're stuck waiting to pay. The spots that run on Square never have that problem. Quick checkout, easy receipts, sometimes even loyalty points. Love that. If you're starting a business or running one that deserves better tools, Square helps you sell, manage, and grow without slowing down. Right now, you can get up to $200 off Square hardware at square.com/go/lockedonnfl. That's SQUARE.com/GO/LOCKEDONNFL. Run your business smarter with Square. Get started today. We are back, Locked On Ravens Squad Show. Sam Njoku, Kevin Oestreicher, and our boy Ismail here with you on the Wednesday evening, talking Ravens football. The Lamar Jackson discourse is taking a turn. Of course, we hate to hear about it, but love to talk about it with you guys as we get closer and closer. The training camp reminded that we are here once a week on Wednesdays, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Kevin has his Locked On Ravens podcast twice a day, 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. The 6 p.m. show just dropped, and expect the 6 a.m. show bright and early tomorrow morning. So make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you're anointed with all the goodness that is Ravens football as we get closer and closer to the start of training camp and the regular season. Lamar Jackson been disrespected. Nothing new here, but it seems as though it's taking a fever pitch as you get closer and closer to what looks like a pretty darn good campaign for Lamar Jackson. Q, we're getting you in here to get your thoughts about it. We talked about the ESPN top 100, well, not the ESPN, NFL top 100 list, as well as Colin Cowherd eliminating Lamar Jackson entirely from his top 10 QB list. What are your initial thoughts about it, seeing those lists come out in feverish order?
Well, I think one thing, you look at the voting for the NFL top 100, and it is one of those things where they can, depending upon when it was for that guy. So in other words, if you're looking at a guy, he's just balling out and, he's doing his thing, then like a Matthew Stafford, he's going to be real high up on the list. If a guy like a Derrick Henry, if he's having some phenomenal year, a Jaden Daniels, he'll have a phenomenal year. But then if they have an off year, what have you done for me lately? And so that's where I think the Lamar Jackson, what is he, 69th player ranked?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's annoying and frustrating, but so be it. The Colin Cowherd thing, that's just asinine. Like that doesn't make sense to me at all. Like if you're talking about, body of work and like good body of work, Colin is better than that. He knows that Justin Herbert is not in the conversation of Lamar Jackson, or Sam Darnold shouldn't even be even considered ranked higher than Lamar, or who else did he have in there that just made me just like vomit? Like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, I think you talk about trying to be controversial. Dak Prescott, for sure, is a upper tier, strong quarterback, but he hasn't really gotten his team over the hump. All Lamar Jackson has done is just elevated the bar of the quarterback play year in and year out. And so maybe you want to dock him somewhat because of last year, but to not put him in there at all and put some of those other dudes that I don't think can hold Lamar's water bottle, mother of pearl. You've lost your mind, and or you've done that to try to get some level of clicks and knowing that this will be controversial.
Yeah, I mean that's where I am with it too. that is it's crazy to me. And there were other quarterbacks on. I mean, none more egregious than Lamar, but like there were other quarterbacks on the list that were left off, and I'm just like, huh. I mean, we're putting Jared Goff on a list over Lamar, and I mean Dak wasn't on. I was pretty shocked Dak wasn't on the list either. Like, you know, the one that everybody's talking about, rightfully so, is Lamar, but like, and you know, there are guys on that list who again should be on the list, but are just like Caleb Williams at number 3 is yes, just wild. Justin Herbert at number 5. People love Justin Herbert nationally for some reason. I can still not put my finger on why. You know, like he gets a pass for 10 times the things Lamar Jackson does, but he's, I think, 0-3 in the postseason with that horrendous collapse to the Jags on his resume as well. So, I mean, if Lamar had a game like that, he'd be sent into the stratosphere. Like, I mean, that's the different type of conversations that are had about Lamar versus other quarterbacks. And again, like, I'm totally okay with like when Lamar deserves to be criticized, has a bad game, makes a bad throw, like whatever. Like, I'm cool saying, hey, he had a bad game, he made a bad throw, whatever it may be. But it just feels like there is no middle ground for people when it comes to Lamar Jackson criticize wise, right? It's like they have to go all out in terms of criticism with him and take every little single thing, things that don't even exist, and try to make up that narrative with. I mean, Colin was talking about the fourth quarter stuff and, you know, taking Bo Nix over him. And I'm like, did we not see on the last possession Lamar Jackson played last year, him drive down the field and put the Ravens in position to win? Unfortunately, Tyler Luke missed the kick, but he doesn't get credit for that fourth quarter, that drive, because the Ravens didn't win the game, you know, and that's not showing up in the stat sheet. So there's context to everything, but it just feels like people eliminate the context when it comes to Lamar Jackson and give other quarterbacks, whether it be Allen, Burrow, Herbert, whatever, you know, the passes that Lamar Jackson does not get. I'm not saying Lamar Jackson should never be criticized ever in his career. Like, that's not true. He's going to make bad throws. He's going to have bad games, and that's okay. Everybody does. But, you know, we're not seeing people talking about Joe Burrow having his job on a line or Justin Herbert having his job on a line like ESPN was doing with Lamar and Jalen Hurts the other day. So, you know, it's those conversations that, again, I'm sure Lamar is used to at this point. We're honestly probably all used to him at this point, and that's, you know, pretty disappointing that that's where we are with it.
Lamar Jackson wasn't the only surprising person that's a Raven that was just announced this week. Roquan Smith was actually ranked higher than Lamar Jackson. Roquan was ranked 65, and Lamar Jackson ranked 69. And we all know the type of season that Roquan Smith had, which begs the question, what is the criteria for this list? Were you surprised, Q, to see that Roquan Smith even made the list, let alone get higher than his quarterback, Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, see, this is where I'm saying, like, what did they do it after the second week in Cleveland? Oh, we're going to do the top 100 list. Let's get all the producers and go to all the different cities so we can interview guys like right now. You're living off of name recognition. So if you're living off of name recognition, then Lamar Jackson should be a heck of a lot higher. Lamar Jackson should be in the top 15, living off of name recognition only because of the fact that he was hurt last year. So you drop him down to 15, and then you just show all the dynamic highlights, all bet not as long as previous years, but you would still be showing some highlights like KO was saying as far as the Pittsburgh game and just making the miraculous out of nothing. Roquan, goodness, like there are just some plays that I wish he would have made, and he just didn't. And he knows that. He's owned it. He's talked about it. He's ready for the redemption. I hope he doesn't come in doughy, because last year, you know, doughy row wasn't it. We can't have doughy row. Doughy row would be Falele doughy, and we all know Q don't want to rant on Falele doughy. No more doughy, no more doughy. We don't want you Rowie doughy. We want you Roquan Agent Zero. No more doughy. Can't have it. Got paid well. You did your own contract, did your thing, Dowie ain't it. Let's get the tackles for losses. Let's put your boys in order so you can go out there and ball out. But you can't do it Dowie. If you do it Dowie, it's a tire handle around there. All of a sudden, you're walking out there like roly poly oly, and I'm going to give you the jersey number 77 because you don't deserve 0 because Agent 0, he just housing people. You all of a sudden look doughy, roly poly oly, and you get some inside drill. And Vega, who love him, thought he had a really solid camp. Now we're going to see when he get the pads on. The homeboy better not be trying to house you. Why? Because you roll quad Agent 0. Now, you roly poly oly, you're a little doughy roly, doughy roll, you're going to get housed by Vega. That's not good. Rant over.
We're rhyming over here. We're doing a rhyme or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was shocked to see Roquan. I mean, but again, that's going to be most of the players on the list. Like, I'm going to be shocked to see a lot of guys over Lamar. And I don't know. I'm kind of speechless about it in terms of like some of these guys that are going to be ranked ahead of him. And again, just kind of preparing for it and figuring out, what the situation is. And I guess it gives me an excuse to go back to the social media post format that I use all the time that people get mad at me at because I did it a lot when Lamar was 72nd and players would have a bad game that were ranked ahead of him. And I would just put question mark and it'd be Lamar 72 and then that player higher than him. And everyone's like, it's for 2025. I don't care if it's for 2025. There are not 68 better players than Lamar Jackson. And it feels just wrong. It feels like, I mean, again, I'm honestly not too worried about it. Like, I'm not. Like, yes, it's disrespectful. Yes, we're going to talk about it. Yes, we're going to defend Lamar Jackson. But I just have so much confidence that he's going to bounce back this year. Like, to me, this is just, it's an issue, but at the same time, it's a non-issue because, like, I just feel like these people are going to come crawling back in 2 months. Like, we're going to be sitting here. He'll have, like, an awesome first couple weeks of the season or first week of the season, and everyone's going to be like, oh, wait, oh, hold, oh. I said that, wait, he wasn't supposed to be this. He was supposed to be falling off. But people, I think, are going to realize pretty quickly that, and even if it takes a little bit, even if the offense starts off slower and they're trying to figure things out, even if it takes a couple of months in the season, I think by the end of it, people will be talking about him as an MVP candidate. And, some people can talk about him that way and other people will not be allowed to because they are on a certain side and they're not going to be allowed back on the other side. So I just have so much confidence in him and this offense and this team bouncing back that, all you can do is laugh, I guess, at some of this stuff.
That's all you can do. And I am very interested to see where these bandwagoners come back. Maybe it's week 1, maybe it's week 5, maybe it's week 17, but they'll be coming running, I think. Well, we talked about Colin Cowherd. We're going to quickly get to the executive coaches and scouts for ESPN's top 10 quarterbacks list. Nothing crazy like Colin Cowherd. Top 3, no surprise. You got Josh Allen, who's probably the most consistent QB on the list. Patrick Mahomes, who's probably still riding the 3 Super Bowl wins. Obviously, he's going to be the top 3. Matthew Stafford just won the MVP. But Joe Burrow at 4 and Lamar Jackson at 5. Joe Burrow's durability concerns were noted as he missed 9 games last season, but he was number 4. Lamar Jackson, number 5. Also durability concerns, obviously, but it seems to be that they just don't think that he's as good as Joe Burrow, even though Joe Burrow hasn't shown much since that Super Bowl run 4 or 5 years ago. Q, I'll start with you. Are you surprised by Joe Burrow being 4 or 5, or do you think it's probably interchangeable? Both guys having a chance to come back after injuries in 2025.
Yeah, I think Joe is living off of that Super Bowl run. I think Joe and his offense, my criteria with these upper tier guys outside of Patrick Mahomes is that if you put Lamar in their offense and you traded them into his offense, what would they do? I think Joe's a phenomenal quarterback. I think, he is more than deserving of his praises and what he can and cannot do. But you give Lamar T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, yeah, bro. Like Lamar is just going, oh my God, it would be embarrassing because he would just dominate. And so in my mind, when I look at Joe and the way his defense played, I will give him some grace, but I also don't think it's kind of like Justin Herbert, but just on a higher level. I guess that's what I'm looking at. Justin Herbert on a higher level, and that's where the bias comes in, and it's just weird how even head to head, Lamar is just the better player that comes out on top over the Bengals. And I who are these GMs? Like, let's name some names. Let's get who are these personnel people? Maybe they're trying to stir the pot as well, and they just trying to hate on them.
Yeah, I think we should do away with anonymous lists. If you're gonna say something, put your name on it. You know that's something I think that's long overdue. Especially because one of the people, and I forget who it was. I mean, not who, but like some executive or coach or scout or whoever said like, "Oh, I didn't respect Lamar's passing game early, but now I do." I'm like, "Oh, thanks." Like that's great, thanks. But I mean, I don't know, like that, and this is part of the unfortunate thing about lists like these, and this doesn't just go for quarterbacks, it goes for every list, is that like it pits these guys against each other. Like I think Joe's an awesome quarterback. I think Josh is an awesome quarterback. I think Patrick Mahomes is an awesome quarterback. I think Lamar's an awesome quarterback. I think Stafford's an awesome like all these guys are great, but it's just like when they're put on lists like these and there's just such blatant disrespect, there are all these comparisons that happen and there are all these other, poor things that go on, and it ends up creating like these narratives, and like you see the respect that Josh and Lamar have for each other when they talk about each other in the media, and Joe and Lamar seem to have that same, like, it's again, like Lamar said he's not necessarily like friends with these guys like outside of football. I think I remember him saying that like last year or something, or 2 years ago. But again, like there's a mutual respect that Lamar Jackson has with his peers and that his peers have with Lamar. But then you just start to really have all of these other conversations that just, end up pitting these guys against each other. And it's really sad.
It is sad. And you're right. Pitting these guys against each other, for the discussion sake, for debate's sake, kind of sucks. But, also it is July, and you got to have these lists out now to get people talking. Can you imagine if we didn't have these lists? What would we talk about in this episode? But to your point, yeah, I think that when you disrespect one player so egregiously, it forces you to defend him. And by doing so, sometimes you have to disrespect others. So kind of that's how it works like that. I think Josh Allen, unanimously, everybody says is the number one player just because he's the most consistent right now. No qualms with that. But I think at some point you have to ask yourselves, why are we really digging so deep into Lamar Jackson and his failures when his superlatives, his qualities, his positives are so much larger than the tidbits and negatives that he has. So something to think about as we move along. No more Lamar Jackson talk. We're moving on to training camp, the offseason that was. What did this team going to look like as we get closer and closer? We're 2 weeks away from the first practice for the Ravens in training camp. So lot to get to. We'll talk about which offseason move matters the most next on the Locked On Ravens Squad Show. We are back with the Locked On Ravens Squad Show, talking Ravens football with you here on the Wednesday. Lots of discussion regarding Lamar Jackson and where the disrespect or lack of respect, whatever you want to call it, comes in with Lamar. Let's talk about the Ravens as a whole as they look to turn the page on what was a pretty disappointing 2025 season. They've done a lot. They got rid of John Harbaugh, just the mentioned incident, along with Declan Joel and Anthony Weaver to kind of fix this team. Seems to be a coaching issue. Steve Bisciotti hopes and Eric DeCosta hopes. They influx this team with talent, lots of young guys, lots of veterans also to come in here and kind of fix some holes, plug some holes from departures that may have some ramifications, if not for those additions. What do you think? And I'll start with you, Kevin. Biggest offseason move, well, not the biggest offseason move. Which offseason move do you think will matter the most? Could be player, could be coaching. Which offseason move do you think will pay the most dividends for the Ravens at the end of the season?
Well, I mean, if it's coaching, I think it's Jesse Minter. I mean, if we can throw coaching in there, I think that his addition, being able to put guys in the right spots, being able to get the best out of guys, just getting their identity back on defense. I mean, that's definitely where I would go. I think a coaching change was needed. I think what had happened in the past was it had run its course, and I think Jesse Minter's bringing that fresh energy, the infectious energy. Players are buying in, and I think that that's a really big deal because, again, as I've said so many times on this show before, like I wasn't in that locker room. I can't tell you what was going on, but it just didn't feel right. Like just from the outside looking in, it just didn't feel right, and it feels right now from the outside looking in. So I think that Jesse's track record speaks for itself, and whether it be Vanderbilt, Michigan, LA, the past 2 seasons, like glowing things. Again, like I kind of have joked about it before, and I think we've joked about it, us three, but like there really hasn't been like one negative thing to like have come out about Jesse Minter. It's like, it's usually like, oh, well, here's a weakness, or this is what this guy. I haven't heard or seen anything. Like it's just been all sunshine and rainbows, which I love. So I think that Jesse Minter, the culture shift, the vibe shift, everything that kind of happened for Baltimore in that department this offseason, I think is the most impactful thing they could have done.
Interestingly enough, I think the honeymoon period is coming to a close. It's not a bad thing. It's football. In football, you don't have perfect games and perfect scenarios, clearly. It's how you adapt, overcome. Drake May and them advanced to the next round of the playoffs, and they did it against a Jesse Minter-led defense last year. So we know they're going to be bumps in the road. It's how you handle those bumps in the road. And I think, to KO's point, those bumps were big old potholes that were starting to form in the Harbaugh era that now they're speed bumps because of what we have kind of gleaned and what we feel is happening with Jesse. And I think as long as they can remain speed bumps with Declan Doyle, as long as they can remain speed bumps with Anthony Weaver, heck, even Anthony Levine, co-cap, like there are going to be some speed bumps along the way. Those three are going to be in charge of making sure the guys holding it down, and then obviously the different position coaches, speed bumps. Let's see how it all unfolds, and I think it should be okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jesse Minter, he's going to have his growing pains. Obviously, there's other things other than playing, calling plays on defense that matters for a head coach. We talked about the kind of shortcomings with John Harbaugh, calling timeouts, when to run the football, when to take ownership of the offense. Jesse Minter is a defensive guy, but if you've seen Declan Doyle not running Derrick Henry enough, you have to be the guy that goes up to Declan Doyle and say, hey, what are we doing? Let's run the football. So being that coach, maybe some growing pains. Maybe he doesn't feel like he needs to do that early on. Maybe he has to take that adjustment later. It's going to be a bit of a learning curve now, breaking up with your girlfriend and then getting a new hot thing. And, first couple of weeks in that relationship, it's all rainbows and sunshine. But as we all know, the bumps in the road will come, and just kind of riding those bumps and getting through the adversity and kind of building that relationship is going to be important for both the Ravens and Jesse Minter. So very much looking forward to that. Let's talk about players. We talked about the coaches. Which player, Q, I'll start with you, based on the moves that are made in the offseason, which offseason move to acquire or maybe even leave a player in the dust gives you the most confidence moving forward in the 2026 season?
Well, I mean, the big elephant in the room is Vega Ioane, the way in which they went out and attacked the draft. Myself, along with everyone else, I mean, it was I'll say me. Like I was like, all right, what are you gonna be doing? We weren't even about to call you EDC anymore, because it was that important. Like it was like, all right, you need to set the tone. So based upon the conversations that I've had with some people in the house, they did a great job. They did a great job. And then the way in which they deftly were aggressive with Max, couldn't get Max, felt not necessarily cold feet, but smart decision making. And to get Trey, I think that was really amazing. Zion Young, like Zion is a first round grade that they had him at to get him in the second round. So here's a word that we do not like to use when it comes to now. We would have used it back in February, March, and April. Value pick. Okay, so KO, we already got that vernacular out the way. Don't even say it again. We don't even say it. We don't even say it. We don't even say it. So we got that out the way. Now, Zion Young, boom, put him on that queue list of like, off-season moves that are really strong. Both first and second picks. Plus, you look at what Trey brings to the table. I think, yeah, I like the way. I mean, if you even want to like off-season moves, Jesse getting his staff and how he got his staff to kind of think like him yet challenge him. Yeah, I was very, very pleased with it all.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Ioane pick. I'll just say Trey so we can, just kind of dive a little bit more into Trey. I think that he is exactly who the Ravens needed. He's not necessarily a force on rundowns like Max Crosby would have been with the dual threat ability, I guess, defensively. But, he's someone that can get to the quarterback with the best of him when he's healthy. And last year he wasn't healthy. And, we saw the sample size in Cincy. 2 seasons before last season, he had 17 and a half sacks in each of those, 35 sacks in 2 seasons, which is just unbelievable. And again, you're rotating him in with these guys like a Zion Young and some others that, Mike Green, all these players. And I think it's going to be really tough for opposing defenses to get a hold on any of these guys because, sometimes it's a lot about, different like tells with one-on-one matchups, offensive line, defensive line wise. And, when you go up against a guy for 60 snaps in a game and you're going up against that one particular player, you can start to maybe see, they like to do this at the start or, they'll give me a tell by doing X, Y, or Z. You rotate in those guys, it's hard for an lineman to get a read on that. And then you can go back to the sideline and say to your guys, hey, when he does this, do this. Or you can feed on. And that seems to be something that Trey can help out with, especially being a vet. Seems like he's already taken some younger guys like a Mike Green under his wing, which is really cool. And I mean, it just feels like there was no other choice but to pivot to Hendrickson after the Crosby thing. If there was any other situation that would have happened there, I mean, Trey was the best and last guy on the market that would have been the splash that Max Crosby was. And I guess while Trey is not a do-it-all player like Crosby is, he certainly fits what the Ravens needed, and I think that's good. It's just what they needed.
Yeah, I agree. I've started.
What about Calais Campbell in the veteran interior leadership? I mean, right away, you saw him out there in minicamp, and he's talking to the young dudes on how to move their arms to get themselves leverage over the offensive guy. I think there's a huge value in bringing in a guy that caliber and not named Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah, I think he's going to be huge. You're a Calais Campbell guy, Kevin, so I'm sure you more than anybody understand that. But yeah, his I mean, you don't get to be in the league to your 40s without having some sort of technical prowess to your game. Not only the power, we know he's a big, strong guy, but the technical aspect of his game, understanding what to do with his hands to get to the quarterback and, just to disrupt plays in general can't be overstated. And that teaching method that he's going to instill in those younger guys on the defensive line is going to be invaluable. I think you're absolutely correct, Q. That could be a very underrated signing for the Ravens, something that we probably talk about as we get closer and closer to the postseason, perhaps, for the Ravens. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, talk about training camp sleepers. Not the big names like Trey Hendrickson or Roquan Smith or Lamar Jackson. I want to hear from you about sleepers, guys that no one's talking about that can come in and potentially make an impact in the preseason and get themselves onto the roster for potential regular season and postseason domination. I won't say domination, but disruption. Make a name for yourself out here. Going to be young guys, I'm sure, on the list, but we'll talk about it here next on the Locked On Ravens Squad Show. We are back. Last segment, Locked On Ravens Squad Show. Sam and Jekyll, KO, Q, talking to you about Ravens football here on a Wednesday evening. Remember, we're here once a week until the start of the preseason, 7:30 p.m. on Wednesdays. You can catch Kevin on Locked On Ravens podcast twice a day, 6 a.m., 6 p.m., Monday through Friday. You can catch the 6 p.m. show. It just dropped a few hours ago. And the 6 a.m. show will be dropping bright and early tomorrow morning. So make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell wherever you get your podcast, be it video or audio, so you are informed and notified when the show drops. Now, we talked about Lamar Jackson, talked about these offseason moves that have given Lamar and company a chance to potentially make a push in the postseason in 2026. Yeah, I'm talking postseason in July, and now we're talking training camp sleepers, guys, who we haven't talked about pretty much throughout the offseason program that could come in training camp and make a name for themselves in a big way through competition and play throughout the preseason. Kevin, I'll start with you. Give me a name that could be a sleeper that not a lot of fans are talking about.
Man, I think I talked about this guy like a week or so ago on the show. I mean, I'm really liking Keandre Jackson right now. You know, I just feel like his special teams ability last season, his nose for the football, and I think an opportunity for him defensively where, you know, you bring in Jalen Hawkins, but you lost two safeties and Alohi Gilman and Ardarius Washington. So I think him slotting in as your fourth guy makes sense. And I think that he'll have opportunities on the defensive side of the ball, especially if he can turn it up in training camp. You know, we seem to have heard some good things about him early in this process. So, you know, I'm excited about that and kind of how that will end up going. But, you know, I can't shake the feeling of like Keandre Jackson might really step up for them in certain spots this year. I'm not saying he's going to play 100% of snaps or anything like that, but feels like they also really like him on special teams and feels like Anthony Levine can, you know, kind of continue to help him in that regard as a new special teams coordinator. So, I mean, I've been on the Keandre Jackson train for a little bit now. I really like what he can bring to the table.
This guy is more of a controversial sleeper in that there were a lot of high expectations and he didn't necessarily meet them. But Quasi got in a groove and showed up and I think got his mojo back, and hopefully because of what I'm about to say next, because of an injury, it gives him a chance. And I'm going to say Trenton Simpson with Teddy Buchanan, as much as they say he's on task and ahead of schedule to come back, that's great. But it is an ACL, and you're going to have that arthrogenic muscle inhibition that is going to be happening. Basically, you're just going to be feeling like, oh, man, my knee, it tests well and all that, but you'll still feel kind of achy. You're like, what is all this? So it gives Trenton Simpson a chance to continue to put himself in the crosshairs in a positive way, because there'll be a demand for him to show up. And I think, yeah, he's going to show up. I think that he's doing some things that really look good. I think that it's not in a negative, humbling way to be on special teams, because it's not a knock. But yeah, when you are a starter, you don't necessarily play special teams. So you're not that guy. Therefore, you're on special teams. And I think that is something that, you know, yeah, it is in a sense humbling. But I think it's going to be great for him. It's going to be awesome for the Ravens. And he's my training camp sleeper.
Yeah, he's a guy who I have high expectations for no other reason. Well, plenty of reasons, but one of them is he looked jacked in OTAs. He was one of the more muscular guys, stood out. You know, Roquan Smith known for, you know, the roly-poly, as Q put it a little bit in previous seasons. This past OTAs, Trenton Simpson looked ready to go. And I know that's not the end-all, be-all for how a player performs in the football game, but it just goes to show you that he is preparing himself for what could be a breakout year for him, and a contract year, by the way, for Trenton Simpson. So big time year for Trenton Simpson. He could be a sleeper for sure. That shows out. I like your Keandre pick as well, Kevin, but I like Chandler Rivers as well. A rookie. I don't know what it is about rookie nickelbacks that can, you know, support the run very well. That always has me amped up. But he's a guy that can come in with a guy like Jesse Minter, young guy, get taught, maybe get away all the negative stuff that he may have been accustomed to dealing with in college, maybe the bad habits that he can throw away. And by midseason, this is a guy that could be helping out not only on special teams, but maybe in certain packages for this defense. I'm very excited for Chandler Rivers. He's a guy who maybe you want to keep an eye on as we get started with training camp in the preseason. Give me another guy, Kevin, another sleeper that you got before we close out the show.
Oh, man. I am going to go. I gotta say, I gotta go with Aeneas Peebles. I gotta go with Fub. I gotta go with Fub. I mean, I think that he's a guy that you can play in a lot of different circumstances when it comes to rushing the passer. Probably not going to be there when I don't know what Q's doing with his glasses. I don't know what this is. I've never seen Q.
I'm protesting.
Well, you don't like Fub? What's wrong with Aeneas Peebles? What's wrong? What's wrong with Aeneas Peebles?
Oh, man.
You've been on the Aeneas Peebles Club
Yes.
train for so long.
Well, it's only been a year. It's only been a year.
It's such a long year. It's a long year. It's been such a long. I'm just. Oh, it's so long. Oh my gosh, it's so long. You might as well just go ahead and put him and Adisa Isaac on the same train.
No, he's not there. Adisa has barely played for injury reasons. I think Aeneas will be in the rotation this year. Oh,
no.
Come on.
I'm just saying. I'm protesting.
Wow.
Protesting it. All
right, who's your guy?
Yeah.
So this one here is it's kind of you kind of just laugh at it, and I just think that Justice Hill, as much as no one was really talking about him, as much as he had a really strong offseason, because we were all talking about Adam Randall.
Yep.
Like Adam doesn't have the playing experience that Justice Hill does. So go ahead, jump off my bandwagon if you want me, or if you don't want me. All I know is I'm Justice Hill. And when it comes down to it, I'll be making some plays. And therefore, I'm about to bust it up. Declan Doyle's offense gives people a chance to catch the ball out of the backfield. Y'all gonna see me. Oh, yeah. I have to block Chris Jones to validate who I am. Y'all gonna see me catching passes out of the backfield, this Housen brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what's up. Take that, bub.
I like Justice Hill. I agree with you completely. He's the only guy that we can count on to be a pass protecting running back for sure. So he's going to be a guy that's going to
and catching passes. Don't be just saying pass protection.
Right.
Like
those wheel routes are.
And the Declan Doyle offense,
Justice Hill specialty right there. Yeah,
that could be big. A lot of running backs in the Ben Johnson offense last year got a lot of receptions there. So could be a chance for Justice Hill to make a name for himself. Well, I guess not make a name for himself, but kind of go out there and show his stuff. Yeah, there you go. That's the word.
I got the position. I thought Q was going to say Adam Randall. So I got the position right.
Adam Randall.
Got the position right, but Adam, I like him. Don't get me wrong. But, Justice is like, oh, whoa. And after you said Aeneas Peebles, I was like, oh, we ain't going Adam. Adam is going right out the doggone on the field with the brand new golf cart with the owner's initials on it. Yep. So what is he tripping on? They're probably going to be like, hey, man, you think we should have Adam carry all our pads inside because he's a rookie? No. Because he's going to just go ahead and put all the pads on the doggone golf cart. What we need to do is say, yo, Adam, your job is to make sure you get the golf cart and drive us back from the far field over to the locker room so we don't got to walk. Fool. That. Yeah. Other than that, no. So this KO went Fub on us. I was like, oh, for the love of it all.
I don't know what Fub did to you, Q. I don't know where this beef comes from.
Fub is just a guy. Just a guy.
I don't know.
Jag. Okay. Well, let's go.
I mean, that's not disrespectful, but it's disrespectful to just be like, oh, yeah, Fub. I mean, what are we talking about? Like, I don't know.
Gonna be good. It's gonna be good to watch the preseason, seeing
Next
whether or
level.
not
Oh, God.
and these people
What are we doing?
can come in and get some respect, some more respect out of Q. I'm not saying the Q doesn't have respect for him, but let's see if he can turn the page and become the player that Kevin obviously thinks that he can become. I'm going to be very interested to see if he can get into the field and be not just a pass rush specialist, but to get those downs, at least in the John Harbaugh era. Harbaugh wanted to see him be more of a complete package to get on the field. Whether or not you agree with that, well, doesn't really matter anymore because Harbaugh's now a Giant. So we'll see what happens. Jesse Minter, new head coach, Anthony Weaver, defensive line specialist. These guys are going to come in and try their best to get the most out of the guys, and these people could be that guy. We certainly think that Justice Hill will be that guy. And, of course, Lamar Jackson has a bone to pick with the league, so expect much out of him this year as well. That is going to do it for us here at the Locked On Ravens Squad Show. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, joining us. Next week, we'll be back next Wednesday, and we'll be a week away from the start of training camp practices, which means that we are near the finish line of the offseason and what has been a very, very eventful offseason in Ravens history. So for myself, KO and Q, thank you so much for tuning in to the Locked On Ravens Squad Show, and we will see you next week.